This video has been heavily edited and censored to ensure that the content adheres to YouTube's community guidelines. If you want to see the full 30-minute uncensored version, we have uploaded it to our Patreon. The link to this is in the description box down below. Please keep in mind that the opinions expressed in this video belong only to the people that are speaking them and don't necessarily reflect our views or opinions. Hello and welcome back to the Dark Artist series, where we sit down and chat to influential Gothic and dark artists. Today our guest is the band that put Deathrock on the map. We are joined today by Valor of Christian Death. Valor, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. So you recently played a few shows in the UK, including, I believe, a festival in Whitby, and you are finishing off the Alpha and Omega tour with a date here in Ireland. So how has the tour experience been so far?
Surprisingly great turnout. Everything's great. Lots of happy people, lots of smiling faces, no problems. Usually we've got a complicated arrangement for our shows usually, and something's always bound to go wrong, but just minor little hiccups.
Oh, so everything went as fluidly as it could.
Yeah, better than expected.
Oh, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. I'm curious to ask, because you're actually the first US-based band that we've had on the channel for an interview. So what's the difference in the experience like for you when it comes to touring in the US versus in the EU and UK, etc.?
Are you talking about how the crowds are? Are you talking about how what kind of people music really gets them going, or are you talking about the reaction to them, fashion?
Do you notice a big difference in the crowds between the US and the EU?
Even in the US, from one place to another, the reaction is different because colder climates make sometimes colder reactions.
But even when it comes to like the tour bus experience, I'm sure in the States you can probably make it around the entire country in a van.
Well, yeah, but after a few weeks in a bus, you start to think, I want to get out of this bus.
Yeah,
I want my own bed. No, I don't sleep in a coffin.
That is the goal.
I need more room than that.
Yeah,
double
coffins.
Coffin,
yeah, we need to get double coffins.
A double wide coffin.
Yeah, double wide coffins. Someone get on it. With lots of cushioning.
Anything sounds good right now.
I like purple if you're making it.
Somebody. And me as well.
Hit us up. We'll take it.
Velvet. It has to be crushed real velvet.
First velvet, purple. We'll take red. When it comes to sort of gigs and the stage in general, you have a very unique and interesting outfit and persona and sort of image in general that you have on stage. I'm thinking particularly of you have a sort of chainmail look with armor, almost like an armored headpiece.
Well, that was something, the cat's out of the bag. I'm wearing chainmail again for the first time in 5 years, but only as a necklace, as opposed to, I'm not ready to go into battle today.
Can you tell us?
More casual.
Can you tell us sort of the backstory behind that image choice or what it means?
Well, I guess it does tie into the concept of the new album, which is related to the previous album. So the root of all evolution and evil becomes rule is pretty much part one and part two. And the root of all evolution starts with extracts from the Emerald Tablets, which go back to, they talk about pre-Diluvian times, where the fallen angels coming down and going to the center of the earth, and one of the last lines is that the wicked, the good shall be deemed wicked, and the good shall be deemed insane, and the wicked shall be deemed good. I may have misquoted some of the lines, but that's the basic story. And I had a fellow he's actually a professor, he's a big fan from Germany. He's actually English, but he reminded me of last night. He said, I can't get those words out of my head because those words are almost like the best prediction of where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Where the tables are being turned, politically, and where it's all about creating division, where turning people against each other, whether it's black against white, gay against straight, man against woman, rich against poor, this country against that country, Christianity against Islam, and it's all being played out at the same time, and it's not a coincidence in my opinion. That's how it starts, that album, and then it's basically bringing us back from the time immemorial. Nobody's really sure about the sayings and the words of the Emerald Tablet, or where it even came from, or where they come from. But that stops just before modern times. The new album takes us from now into the future and how we see the future. So it's sort of a prediction. In fact, all the lyrics were written before the pandemic. And the pandemic, I was hoping to get everything finished before this key event happened.
Yeah, that was actually what was going to lead me into my next question, was the Evil Becomes Real, your most recent album. I was going to ask what is the meaning behind the album in general, but you're saying it's predictions of how you think the future is going to be shaped.
I was really like terrified by what was happening. I wanted to have the album out as a warning, and it was basically saying, we're here now. It's like, now it's come to pass. What are you going to do? And that's the thing is, now that we're here, and if you can open your mind, what are you going to do about it? Because if it's a small amount of people that are trying to manipulate the planet for their own selfish needs, and there's 8 billion of us, all we need to do is wake up. But of course, people don't want to hear this. They want to have a happy time. So I tried to release it as subtle music, just like, if you do understand the words, then music will help you and soothe you to accept the horror of it all. And I mean, instead of singing about Satan and demons and stuff running through the woods or in your house or in your closet, the cruelty and the evil of mankind far surpasses anything that anybody can ever explain to me that happens in the afterlife or in the supernatural.
Yeah, there's already like demons and devils in the real world,
yes,
without
and they have flesh and blood.
Yeah.
And one of the lines is that there's a demon in the house, and they're also known as men.
That leads me to my next question, which was, Christian Death are often regarded as the band that put Deathrock on the map as a genre. Over time, the sound of the band has changed and evolved into touching on various different genres. What's your sort of inspiration behind the direction that you've taken Christian Death musically?
Well, my first band was called Pompeii 99 because it was basically an analogy of how the city of Pompeii was destroyed by nature, and of course at that time Christianity was now starting to form. And later on in years later, they referred to Pompeii as being an example of how God's wrath punished them, because Pompeii was a place where there was provocative, was evil, and that was the punishment of God, the same as the Tower of Babel, and so I'm just using that as an example. Well, when we did the first album as Christian Death, Roz and I were both, and that's what we were thinking. Is like the concept is just going to continue, because Catastrophe Ballet it sounds nice, but it's ballets and stuff, but it's a dance that we're doing with nature and humanity all the time. And ever since then, since Atrocities, that's always been my message, to make people aware that if you're not careful, lots of people are going to suffer. I don't really think that I've had evidence that it was, God that brought down Pompeii or Babylon, but right now we're in a time where human beings can bring down the entire planet on their very own without the help of any god or demon. And so every album since then has pretty much been like that. And in the middle, I was really using sex as a pivotal catalyst to wake people up. I've always been a proponent of supporting people who want to express their sexuality however they want. And the church was something that always denied you doing what you want. Religion was so powerful that it could just control the minds of people. Now we have multinational corporations that are in our lives the minute we wake up, and they know where we are, and they know how to control us, and it's not because of anything that you can imagine other than the fact that they're greedy and they want, and nothing's ever enough. And the evil that really exists in the world is the things that these people actually get up to. Because I used to question why people like Nero, you know the stories of Nero, all the horrible things that the Romans did. Well, that's happening now. These people are more powerful than the emperors of Rome. I'm just, it's overwhelming. I don't even know where to begin. I want to say so much, but I'm just going to confuse people and upset them, and they think he's crazy. But I've been studying this stuff for years. I'm just trying to study what's evil and what isn't. And I'm not frightened of anything. You can put me in the middle of a dark room and lock me up for years, and I will be fine. And you can scare me with whatever. But you put a man in that room, or a couple of men that are going to do something evil to me, that's when the fear sets in. Sorry, that was a lot, right? That was a lot.
I think that is a lot, but people push these thoughts out of their head so often. And if everybody thinks like, oh, well, like, what can I personally do about it, then nothing's ever going to change and nothing's ever going to happen. So I really appreciate that you are like speaking out about this, even though people are upset about it and people don't want to hear it, because it has to be said, and we have to try and change these things. And you're right, like, there's so much happening and people just want to ignore it, and it's really important for people to actually know that this is happening and speak out about it. And now we have the internet as well, so you can research all these things and find out about it, whereas the one difference is, like, back then it might have just been word of mouth, but now you can actually go and see the facts of these things and you can read up about it yourself. That's good, at least we have that, but more people do need to talk out about it and do something about it.
That's a really good point, because the thing about the internet, it has had the power to take all of our data and analyze us and have AI analyze us as a group so that it can control us. But what the internet also is, it's a double-edged sword. Because of what you just said, we have the power to educate ourselves, hopefully at a faster rate. And there's 8 billion of us, and there's only a few AIs, and there's all those people who are the super, super, super wealthy, who are richer than any human beings that have ever lived on this planet, who think that they have it all and they're going to be able to control us. We need to wake all the rest of us up. And then we can stop what is going to be, if we don't, the worst time for humanity ever. It could be the most glorious time for humanity, because we have the opportunity to educate ourselves, like you said, and finally rise above the ignorance of general human beings. And like a lot of the old people say, oh, kids these days, they understand computers. Well, that's because they've had the fortune to be able to learn at a rapid rate.
Exactly.
So, and if we could just use that group mentality to educate all of us, instead of exploit and lie and cancel to everybody, and let the truth just come out organically, we'll all be better off. When we did our first tour with Catastrophe Ballet, it was a very small label, and we've always had smallish labels, not a lot of money, no promotion. We seem to get popular, or stay popular, from just word of mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, you should see this new album, or that band was blah, blah, blah. And we kept staying alive just because, the last 5 shows here in the UK, we've had a lot of young people that didn't even hear about the band. Said, God, you're my favorite band I've ever heard of. And some guy said to me last night, somebody said on last night's show in London, I go to shows all the time and I see some of the best acts. I'm 35 years old and you're the best thing I've ever seen. I've only known you about you for the last 2 years, and I'm obsessed. And that's rewarding to me, because I feel that there's at least hope that I can wake 1 or 2 more people up.
In a sense, I don't know, it's kind of we definitely need to do better and fix things. But then I think people have a lot of things in their head. They're like, well, I'm just going to live my life because we're all doomed basically anyways. But we cannot think like that, because then what's going to happen to the whole world? What's going to happen to future generations?
Well, actually, you've touched on a point that actually pains me, because all my life, apart from making music to make myself escape, I wanted to make music that other people can escape, because everyone's aware. I mean, we've been living in the fear of nuclear war for generations now, and I felt inadequate, because I'm a little fry compared to some people who have huge big platforms, who should be using their platform as say, listen to what's going on. Maybe I'm doing my best to travel the world and speak my world out and make people angry or love me, whatever they want to do. But if at the end of the day I figure I've reached one person every day, then I figure I'm doing what I feel that, whether you call it God or the universe or whatever you think that my morals are to help humanity, that's my incentive. And I don't make money out of it. I make enough money to be able to go here, come to Ireland for the first time, and get getting money to pay for the airfares and have a meal and make a bunch of friends and go to the next place. Well, there's a lot of people who have just day-to-day life, not thinking about that is too much for them.
Yeah.
This is overwhelming for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's why I try to give music as the relief, because, the music is a universal harmony within your body that will let your spirit rise above all this so that you can actually have the strength to deal with it. But the truth is so overwhelmingly bad that people just cannot fathom it. And when you tell them these things, it's like, that is just absolute ridiculous. You are such a conspiracy theory. How can you think about all these crazy things? That's never going to happen. You're just a wacko. That's what I said 20 years ago to this guy who was a neighbor of mine, this old guy. And he was telling me all this stuff. I said, wow, this guy's a really wacko. Now, he's been dead for 5 years, but everything he told me 20 years ago was coming true as things like, holy, this guy knew what he was talking about. He was an older guy 20 years ago when I met him.
Yeah, when you're younger, you're like, nothing's happening. You didn't even pay attention to the news.
It's so bad that you just don't want your brain to accept it. That could be, how could every government in the world be corrupt? How could every party of every government in every country of the world be tied into this machine?
You know why it's good that, now people, say younger people, teenagers and younger people, they have the internet, they are aware of all of this, whereas we didn't have that. So that's really good, because that means there are more people that are looking into this and know what's going on. And from a young age, they have the internet and they're seeing the news and they can't ignore it because it's everywhere. So whereas when we were younger, it was just word of mouth from someone and we were like, what are they talking about?
Well, that's a good note to end on, because that's a positive note, because we can look forward to the fact that people are waking up and that we're hopefully, with our positivity, we're not being negative about we're trying to be positive, say that all we need to do is rise and shine.
Yeah, everybody stand together and make the future better,
We usually give gifts related to the band or Ireland in general to any bands we interview. So it's an old Irish tradition that you used to hang a crucifix above your door so that you could bless people as they came into your house. So I have your very own Irish crucifix.
Wow.
So you can invert it if you like for your bus or at home, whichever you prefer.
Well, that's actually one of the best gifts that I've had in a long time.
So, guys, the end of this episode of Dark Artist. We hope everyone at home enjoyed it. Valor, thank you so much for joining us here today. We appreciate
you for having
it.
Me. It was a great pleasure and very enlightening and actually encouraging.
So, as always, we hope that you enjoyed this video. And until next time, see you in your nightmares.